Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 981. Assassination. Seeing that the Zhan family people had already left, everyone else went forward and tried to get closer to Jun Moxie. Although this free and natural physique prodigy had thoroughly offended the Zhan family and his future might not amount to much, and it was even quite possible that he might die prematurely, but if he somehow didn't die and managed to grow to his peak strength, with this fellow's performance today, he was destined to become a legendary character. There was nothing to lose from trying to get along with him early on. If this kid's life was ill-fated and he ended up dying early, it wouldn't affect them much too. Jun Moxie gave a few perfunctory smiles, exchanged a few vague sentences, and quickly made his way out. He felt that his results today were still quite good. At the very least, as long as he got to enter the spiritual herbal gardens, he would have achieved his objective for this trip. For now, the plan was progressing at a very good pace. After he got his hands on the stuff, he could naturally leave whenever he wanted to. Why would he bother himself with the complicated internal matters of the misty illusory manor? Not only was he not bothered, he was rather tight on time at the moment. There wasn't much time left until the war for seizing the heavens. Seeing that Jun Moxie was about to leave, Little Purple ran over and clung on to his pants. Looking up at him, its eyes were full of attachment and unwillingness to part. Little Purple, you don't belong here or with me. You should return to the mountains. Jun Moxie picked it up and said gently, "This is not a place you can grow safely. Go on, Little Purple. If we're fated to meet again, we will see each other one day." After saying that, he placed it back on the ground lightly. Little Purple meowed lightly a few times and looked at him with reluctance. Then, as if it understood something, it cried out once and opened its mouth, tearing a piece of cloth from his pants. Holding it in its mouth, it raised its head and looked at Jun Moxie one more time. Then, with a light leap, it did a somersault in the air and stood up. After that, it walked forward, looking back with every step. Finally, with a last meow, it disappeared like a bolt of lightning. This cat-bodied tiger had actually disappeared completely from a hall full of people. That piece of cloth it tore was it saying, "No matter how long, I will remember your smell." As for that somersault, it was saying, "No matter until when, you will always be my owner." Although the Xian beast was small, it understood the nature of humans. When it left, Jun Moxie also felt a pang of heartache. Seeing that young Master Jun was about to leave, Meow Xiao Meow hurriedly bade farewell to the other young masters and ran over with little Beansprout in tow. By the time the two came out and stepped onto the streets, the Mo Jun Xie that had only just come out had already disappeared into the sea of people. Seeing the crowded streets in front of her, Meow Xiao Meow stood there silently, feeling a sense of loss in her heart. "Miss, young Master Mo should have left towards Saint Emperor Chao's place. With his speed, he shouldn't have gone very far. We can go along the same road, and we'll definitely catch up to him," Little Beansprout suggested intelligently. "You're right. In any case, I still need to hurry back now and tell grandfather about today," Meow Xiao Meow said decisively and hurried down the path. When their figures disappeared from around the corner, Jun Moxie appeared exactly where they had been standing before. Looking at their departing backs, he sighed lightly. "I'm sorry. I can't." On the other side, after Zhan Bingfeng brought the two brothers of the Zhan family away from Drifting Fragrance Lodge, he chucked them onto the ground as soon as they left Heart Fantasy City. Without saying anything, He gave them a good beating and then followed it up with a harsh scolding and commanded them to reflect in seclusion. After that, he dusted his hands and left huffily. Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu sat up on the ground with dirt all over their faces. Exchanging a glance, their eyes were filled with deep hatred. If this enmity is not avenged, I cease to be a man. Zhan Qingfeng smashed his fist ruthlessly into the side of the stone cliff as he growled with gritted teeth. I must kill him. I must kill him. Kill that Mo Jun Xie. Zhan Yushu also repeated with bloodshot eyes. Since the day I was born, I have never suffered such a great humiliation before. I am unwilling to share the same sky as him. Big brother, what do you plan to do next? Zhan Yushu asked. If we want to get rid of him, tonight is the best opportunity. After today, as long as he manages to return safely, there will be no more chances. At the very least, not without going through Saint Emperor Chao and the others. We spent so much effort and resources today and even exposed our intentions to those Saint Emperors. In the future, we also will not have an easy time because we didn't manage to control Mo Jun Xie. In any case, we've completely lost control of the entire situation. The only way to reverse the situation is just this final opportunity before us. Zhan Qingfeng said slowly. Indeed, everyone present must have thought that the two of us have been sent back home. If anything happens to Mo Jun Xie, we will be the most suspicious. However, precisely because we are the most suspicious, no one will suspect us instead. A sinister look appeared in Zhan Yushu's eyes. Yushu, this matter will be left to the guards under you then. Make sure they do a clean job. Zhan Qingfeng's eyes flashed as he said. If there's even the slightest trace of this matter leading back to us, we will really be unable to bear the consequences. No. Big brother, since we're doing this, we might as well act personally. Zhan Yushu had become smarter after experiencing treachery just once. Hearing this, he refused immediately. This matter is beyond the abilities of this little brother. I'm afraid I can't do this alone. Only if Big Brother can assist me will I be able to ensure that there are no mistakes. Zhan Qingfeng raised his eyebrows and looked seriously at his younger brother. Suddenly, he chuckled bitterly. Yushu, you've grown up. Zhan Yushu snorted lightly, not saying anything. Still thinking to wield me as a gun? If anything happens, you can still use me as a scapegoat. Even if you're my blood brother, it's impossible. A long silence ensued between the two brothers as they looked at each other. In that moment, the both of them could feel that a strange distance had appeared between them and both of them would never go back to their previous closeness again. Slowly, the sky darkened into dusk. By the time Meow Xiao Meow and Little Beansprout came out of Drifting Fragrance Lodge, it was already dusk. The setting sun dyed the entire sky red, and when they reached the bottom of the mountain, there was only an indistinct line of color in the sky, shrouding the entire mountain in a mysterious white mist. All along the way, Meow Xiao Meow's mind was filled with thoughts, and she naturally did not move quickly. As they walked, two shadows flashed past them, shooting forward with the speed of lightning. At their backs appeared the two guards who were supposed to protect Mo Jun Xie. They were also fellow disciples under Saint Emperor Chao Guofeng, Wang Neng, and Li Jia. After Jun Moxie emerged victorious, everyone from the Zhan family had left completely, and the two of them naturally regained their freedom. It's just that they couldn't find Jun Moxie after that, and they could only hurry back to Chao Guofeng to report. Why did they abandon Mo Jun Xie and return alone? Meow Xiao Meow was just contemplating the manner when she heard a muffled sound in front. Could something have happened? Who has such great guts to dare to cause trouble here? Do they not want their lives anymore? Meow Xiao Meow's pupils shrunk, and with a shake of her sleeves, a strange little multicolored jade pendant appeared in her hand. After that, she took out an elaborate small dagger and lightly pricked the tip of her finger. In an instant, a few drops of fresh blood dripped onto the jade pendant. The pendant glowed brightly, flashed once, and expanded into a huge piece of jade silk. Meow Xiao Meow was not slow, quickly draping the silk over herself and little Beansprout. The following scene was even more bizarre. The both of them suddenly vanished. This piece of multicolored jade silk was actually a treasure of the misty illusory manor. The Cloak of Invisibility. This was one of the few defensive treasures that the Nine Nether First Young Master left behind many years ago. As long as one ignited it with a drop of essence blood and covered themselves under it, their bodies would turn invisible. No matter how strong their opponent was, they would not detect their presence. As soon as they turned invisible, the two quickly sped towards the place where the commotion was. The only thing was, when she flew out, she completely did not notice only several hundred zhang behind her. Jun Moxie was following along casually. Meow Xiao Meow and little Beansprout moved stealthily forward, reaching a corner of the road which had been blocked by a huge boulder. Above it was a filthy object which stunk up the entire area. This area was originally an intersection, and even if the path was blocked, it was not a big deal. There were several smaller paths around it which one could use to get around the roadblock. As for the strange painful groan, it had appeared from one of the small roads ahead. Meow Xiao Meow immediately went closer to investigate. 2 more turns later, along a very secluded path, Meow Xiao Meow saw something that gave her a huge shock. A total of 6 black-robed masked men had caught Wang Neng and Li Jia. From the looks of it, the two of them had already been suppressed and controlled. The black-robed men seemed to be saying something, but it was difficult to make the words out from a distance. Meow Xiao Meow's heart shivered, and she moved closer again. Finally, she could hear this. "Your lordships can rest assured. We will definitely be able to do it." It was Wang Ning speaking. What did they ask him to do? An ominous thought appeared in Meow Xiao Meow's heart. Yes, yes. As long as your lordships can be merciful and let us go, it will be an easy matter to get rid of that useless Mo Jun Xie. That brat only knows how to gain small advantages using his detestable mouth. As for his trash cultivation, even an Earth Xian or Jade Xian cultivator can easily end his life. Li Jia said. Meow Xiao Meow's face instantly changed. So the person these people are looking to deal with is Mo Jun Xie? But he'd only just arrived for how many days? Ah. How did he offend so many people? Please subscribe to this channel, so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 982. It's a misunderstanding. Ah. Meow Xiao Meow was incredibly infuriated. No matter what, Mo Jun Xie was Wang Neng and Li Jia's master successor, and they had a duty to protect him. Not to mention, they had just recently been rescued from the hands of the Zhan family by him. If not for him, what kind of ending will the two of you have now? It's fine if you don't know how to be grateful. But the instant you meet danger, you want to sell him out. Where is your conscience? Where is justice? As she looked at the black-robed men, Meow Xiao Meow's eyes lit up. Could these people be from the Zhan family? You may be confident of yourselves, but we don't trust you. Swallow this. Then I will naturally believe you. One of the black-robed men stretched out a hand and forced Wang Neng and Li Jie's mouth open. With a swift move, he popped a black pill into each of their mouths. Although she was standing a distance away, Miao Xiao Miao could still smell the strong and foul odor from the black pills. 7 poisons pills. That is definitely the smell of the 7 poison pill. How did those black-robed men obtain those forbidden pills? Following that, the strange laughter of the black-robed man rang out. The two of you can be considered as quite experienced. So I'm sure you know that these are the misty illusory manners forbidden pills. The 7 poisons pills. If you don't get the antidote within 4 hours of consuming this, your body will immediately rot and die. After those 4 hours, even if you have the antidote, it will not save your lives. But as long as you can kill Mo Junyi within the time limit and bring him back here, we will give you the antidote. As for whether you're interested in saving your own lives, that's entirely up to you. Hearing that, Wang Neng and Li Jie's bodies shivered intensely. Clasping his hands behind his back, the black-robed man stepped away and scoffed coldly. You may go now. As if they'd finally regained their movements, Wang Neng and Li Jie walked off like a pair of stiff zombies. After a few steps, the black-robed man behind instructed coldly. Act more naturally. If you exposed yourselves, Kiki, the unlucky ones will be yourselves. Wang Neng and Li Jie trembled and a look of utter fear appeared in their eyes. However, their movements became much more fluid. By the time they walked back to the intersection, they'd already returned to normal. What should I do now? Miao Xiao Miao asked herself anxiously. Any of those 6 black-robed men had the strength of a venerable. Even the weakest was a first-level venerable. Even in the misty illusory manner, apart from a few of the large families, most other forces would not be able to gather up such a force. Most of the smaller families could already claim control over a small territory if they had just one venerable with them. But now, just to deal with a free and natural physique prodigy, they actually sent out 6 venerable experts. Just from this display of strength, it was obvious how powerful and how determined this enemy behind the scenes was. One could also easily imagine just how deep and intense their hatred towards Mo Junyi was. What should she do to help Mo Junyi escape this trap? Miao Xiao Miao had nearly lost all hope. The strength that the opponent was displaying right now was simply too great. Even if she showed herself, she would at most be able to keep her little life. If she wanted to go and seek help, the reinforcements were too far away and would never make it. After some time, soft footsteps suddenly rang out in the dark night. Miao Xiao Miao turned back and nearly burst into tears. Not far away, Mo Junyi could be seen strolling over in a casual manner, completely not noticing the huge dangers lurking here. Sweetheart. You're a little too careless, aren't you? Why are you barging onto a road of death so brazenly? Ah! Miao Xiao Miao was about to transmit her voice to him and was even going to directly execute her movement technique, bringing him away at all costs. But in that moment, a shadow flashed, and Wang Neng and Li Jie already arrived beside Mo Junyi. Far away, Mo Junyi's face could be seen breaking into a smile after Wang Neng and Li Jie spoke a few words to him. Smiling widely, he nodded repeatedly and followed them. From the look on his face, he was completely not wary at all. In that moment, Miao Xiao Miao lost all hope. This idiot. Didn't you say yourself that those two had bad intentions toward you? How come at such a critical point you suddenly became completely unsuspicious? Finally unable to endure, she sent her voice urgently into Jun Moxie's ears. Brother Mo, there's a trap here waiting for you. Hurry up and run, it's dangerous. The distance between the two sides were too close now, and it was impossible for them to take Jun Xie away by force. The only result from doing that was that she would end up throwing her life away as well, serving no other purpose. The only thing to hope for now was that Jun Xie would be able to turn back and run now, and in the ensuing chaos, she could hide him with the cloak of invisibility and possibly get the chance to escape this trap. But this young lady Miao would never have thought that after this dumb-looking Jun Xie heard her voice, he would suddenly raise his head and look confusedly at the sky. Scratching his head, he wondered aloud, "Am I dreaming? Why did a voice appear in my head?" Chuckling lightly in a self-ridiculing manner, he hurried his steps and followed closely behind Wang Neng and Li Jia. What an idiot! Retard! Stupid! Miao Xiao Miao nearly tore her head out when she saw that. I've really never seen such an idiotic pig before. Miao Xiao Miao was both angry and anxious right now, and she felt an impulse to rush out and give this free and natural physique young Master Mo a good beating to vent the frustration in her heart. However, she couldn't do that. Right now, she was this great prodigy Mo's last line of hope. If she behaved rashly, it would completely dash this last trace of hope for him. Nearer. What should I do? Woo 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 woo. I really don't want to see him die. A strange laughter rang out as 6 black-robed men appeared at the same time, blocking the front and back of the path, completely surrounding him. Jun Xie. Young Master Mo, haha. We've long heard of your great name. The leader of those black-maked men said with a light chuckle. You people, who are you? What do you want? Is this a robbery? I don't have any money. Jun Xie seemed to have been scared quite heavily as he shrieked and jumped backwards. There was no helping it. Anyone would receive a shock after meeting 6 masked men in the middle of the night. We're not here to rob your money, just your life. That black masked man explained patiently as an amused look appeared in his life, as if he were a cat toying with a mouse. It's a shame, but you've offended someone whom you shouldn't have provoked. There's no helping it. The few of us have been sent by someone else too. I hope that great prodigy Mo will forgive us. Forgive? Of course I can forgive. Jun Moxie replied with a trembling voice. As long as you can leave me a way out, I will definitely forget about this matter and forgive your crimes. We are truly apologetic, and we are also grateful for great prodigy Mo's magnanimity. But unfortunately, it's impossible for us to let you go. The leader said with some pity. There's really no other choice. Someone wanted us to kill you here and to let you choose among the most slow and painful methods to die. We're just some low-level characters who don't have any choice. The slowest and most painful method to die? Do I really get to choose? Jun Moxie asked in surprise. Behind the huge boulder, Miao Xiao Miao cussed lowly and wished that she could jump out and give that fellow 2 sound slaps. Those people are just toying with you, Dumbo. You seem like a pretty clever person. Why are you so muddle-headed now? That's right. Since young Master Mo is just and magnanimous, we will let you choose for yourself. Do you want to be burnt to death, or drowned in water? Or do you want us to act personally, slicing your flesh off bit by bit? Can I choose something else? Isn't it supposed to be the slowest and most painful method to die? Jun Moxie said pitifully. In that case, you should find me 100 great beauties. Make them all strip naked and let me. In the end, I will die from exhaustion or loss of essence energy. That would be the most painful and slow death. Can I choose that? Hooey. Miao Xiao Miao spat angrily in her heart. This fellow is already on the verge of death. And he actually still has so many filthy thoughts in his heart. This kind of death is indeed very slow. However, it's quite a comfortable and blissful death. It doesn't have anything to do with painful. I'm sorry, young Master Mo. That is not possible. The black-masked man was very patient. Because he received the stern instructions of Zhan Lun beforehand, let him experience unimaginable pain. But give him some hope for survival. After that, you can slowly torture him to death. You guys really want to kill me? Jun Moxie asked in a scared voice. But why? I've only just arrived here. There isn't really a reason. The black-masked man said as he took a few steps forward, his powerful aura gushing against Jun Moxie. It's simply because you deserve to die. Not only have you offended someone whom you couldn't afford to offend, you even managed to move Miss Meow's heart, Kiki. Don't you know that Miss Meow is already a concubine that someone had their eyes set on a long time ago? This time, Meow Xiao Meow was truly stunned. Someone had already set their eyes on her for a long time, and as a concubine? Just who was it with such great guts? In that moment, Meow Xiao Meow nearly forgot her present danger and almost rushed out to seek an explanation from those fellows. How am I a concubine? Whoever that is, you're dead wrong. You're dreaming. A toad lusting over a swan's flesh. Concubine? Jun Moxie asked with a pained expression. How can such a beautiful lady be someone else's concubine? Who is so lacking in morals? That is simply a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. His words instantly caused Meow Xiao Meow to feel much more comfortable in her heart. But who would have thought that his next words would directly cause her to nearly pass out from anger? If she must be a concubine, she should at least be my concubine. Who else is worthy to do that? Meow Xiao Meow was bursting with anger. Well done, Mo Jun Xie. Even if you don't die tonight, this lady vows to torture you for the rest of her life. At that time, we'll see if you're worthy too. It's getting late. Young Master Mo should go on your way too. The path of the Yellow Springs is long and arduous. Do take care. The black-masked man said in a respectful manner. If you still can't make up your mind about your method of death, then this one shall have to be rude and choose on your behalf. Wait. Jun Moxie took a large step back and pleaded in a hurt voice. Just why are you all trying to me? You haven't told me the real reason yet. Actually, I know, that is all a pure misunderstanding. It's really a misunderstanding. You must understand that. Misunderstanding? What misunderstanding? This time, it was the black-robed man's turn to be confused. What is this kid talking about? It's true. That matters several years ago. It really wasn't my fault. Jun Moxie explained anxiously. Actually, your mother that year was really not ped by me. If you don't believe me, you can go back and ask her. If it was really me, you would be more handsome no matter what. It's so obvious just by comparing our looks. Truly. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 983. Devilish Sword. Sword Control Technique? Bastard. The black-robed man roared with rage. Even in his wildest dreams, he would never have imagined that this kid who was so scared that he couldn't even speak clearly would actually utter such earth-shaking words. In that moment, he could not believe his own ears. Let's kill this brat quickly. There might be more trouble if it's dragged on for too long. The person who spoke this time was actually Wang Neng. Jun Moxie spun around swiftly, his eyes widening. The two of you are with them as well? Wang Neng looked away awkwardly, but he still snorted and said coldly. Mo Jun Yi, you really should not have come to the misty illusory manor. The moment you came, everyone became unhappy. I understand now. Jun Moxie said with a disappointed sigh. Wait. Seeing that those people were about to attack at all costs, Miao Xiao Miao finally could not endure. With a swift movement, she tapped little Beansprout's acupoint and froze her movements before jumping out from under the cloak of invisibility. At this moment, she suddenly had an extremely strange feeling as she found comfort in a thought. Even if I cannot marry him and be his wife, but to be able to die with him today is also a good thing. Thus, she jumped out without further hesitation and stood beside Jun Moxie, coldly staring at those 8 people around him. As long as you step aside today and let us go, I can guarantee that no one will pursue this matter. Young Lady Miao is here too. Pursue? Pursue what? The leading black-robed man said with a dangerous smile. Who do you think you are? If the misty illusory manor or the Miao family's experts are gathered here, you are naturally the precious little princess whom nobody would dare to offend. But here, in this desolate place where no one is able to find us, do you still think that you're the amazing princess with great authority? It's great that you're here. We'll take the opportunity to capture you and bring you back for our young master. Hee. Young master has waited for you for many years already. I'm sure he'll be very happy when we present you to him. Is your young master Zhan Qingfeng or Zhan Yushu? Miao Xiao Miao did not get angry, and she asked calmly. Right. Zhan family descendants typically go around with 3 guards. And there's actually 6 of you here today. From the looks of it, this is a joint effort by both Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu. So, after you capture me, who are you planning to give me to? A lustful gleam blazed momentarily in the black-robed man's eyes as he chuckled. Young Lady Miao, there's no need for you to worry about such matters. Later, when you're lying naked on the bed, you will naturally find out the identity of our young master. Who knows? Maybe when our young master is bored with you, he will pass you to us for a little taste. I wonder what the difference is between you and the ladies in the brothel? Will a woman that's been played with still be so high and mighty after that? Ha 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 ha. Shameless. The few of you deserves to die. Miao Xiao Miao roared with rage. Indeed, they truly deserve to die. An icy voice rang out from somewhere, ethereal and ghostly. No one could tell which direction it came from. Without question, it must be a terrifyingly powerful expert that had arrived. There's no time. Quick, kill them. One of the black-robed men roared and pulled out his sword as he charged forward. He. A cold laughter rang out, and the sky suddenly turned blood red. In that instant, a shocking sword chi burst out. A dazzling sword shining with light flew into the sky, appearing right in front of Jun Moxie. This sword was sucking and emitting a cold and frigid chill, as if they were the eyes of a death god, blinking in the darkness. Without a doubt, this was an exceptional, treasured sword. The light on the blade was white, but the surroundings were actually dyed red from it. Although it was just a sword, but in everyone's eyes, it was as if a terrifying demon from the depths of hell had appeared. This sword seemed to fill the entire sky, not allowing the existence of anything. A devilish sword. Even Miao Xiao Miao was shocked silly by its appearance. Just the frigid killing intent emanating from this sword was enough to suppress everyone present. In front of this sword, all life under the heavens seemed like mere ants. With a flash, the sword instantly moved, its speed reaching an extreme level. Behind Jun Moxie, Wang Neng and Li Jia did not even have the time to scream as their two heads flew high into the air. Shockingly, not a single drop of blood gushed out of their empty necks. Because those two bodies had already been sucked dry in the instant that sword passed through them. Stained with fresh blood, the sword looked equally dazzling and eye-catching. However, the killing intent surging from it had become even more intense. Kill! An exceedingly cold voice rang out from somewhere, carrying a soul-shaking power. When the black-robed men heard this voice, they were all instantly dazed. And in this dazed moment, the devilish sword once again sliced out like the smile of a death god, and two more heads were sent flying into the sky. Devilish sword. Sword control technique. The leader of the black-robed men shouted with disbelief as he grabbed the man nearest to him. Everyone, hurry up and run. The sword control technique was something that one could only learn at realms above the Saint Emperor level. Only those at the Saint Venerable realm could reach and grasp such a profound sword Dao. There were several gaps in the realms of Xian Qi cultivation. And this was a mistake caused by the Nine Nether First Young Master when he first created the cultivation system. In the entire misty illusory manner, less than 5 people could grasp such an ultimate killing technique. And regardless of which one it was, they were not people that these black-robed men could deal with. With just their mere venerable cultivation, they were completely useless before the sword control technique. They were not even capable of receiving a single attack. But even if they wished to run right now, it was already too late. The result was already fixed. The divine sword once again cried out and shot across the sky, darting left and right erratically and drawing a bloody red streak behind it. No matter how mysterious and amazing the movement techniques of the black-robed men were, they were all like ashes in front of this sword. With another flash, 2 more black-robed men collapsed to the ground. Of those 2, one was running madly towards the east, while the other was running to the west. Yet, both of them had dropped at practically the same time, losing their heads and turning into empty corpses. Another flash, and the person that had run the farthest fell down with a pu sound. Following that, the sword streaked across the sky, appearing before the leader of the black-robed men, hovering there without moving and emanating a frigid cold light. The meaning of this was very obvious. Return. Of the 6 venerable experts that the 2 brothers of the Zhan family had sent out, only this black-robed man was left. It was also the same fellow that had spent so much time teasing young Master Jun. Looking around, he saw Wang Neng, Li Jia, and his other 5 companions all turned into strange, dried and twisted corpses. As he looked at the devilish godlike sword, his body could not help but to start shivering with fright. The staunch mental fortitude of a venerable level expert was actually completely useless in this instant. From start to end, the owner of this devilish sword had never even appeared. All this terrifying and shocking result had been accomplished with just this sword alone. He did not doubt that if he resisted even the slightest, this word would instantly pierce through his body, turning him into one of those dried corpses as well. Shivering with fear, he backed off step by step. His eyes were filled with terror, and he raised his voice asking, "Just who are you? Who are you?" This voice was hoarse and dry, like a hopeless person stranded in the desert and going crazy as he faced death. However, no one answered. The only thing was that as he stepped back, the sword continued following after him, constantly remaining 3 CUN in front of his chest, emanating a bone-piercing chill. In that instant, this black-robed man could clearly sense a hint of mockery from the aura of this sword. It was as if the sword itself was sneering at him for his cowardice. However, there was nothing he could do. Under the threat of such a strange, devilish sword, he completely lost all his will to fight. This was the disadvantage of belonging to a large and powerful family or faction. Seeing this venerable expert completely lose his fighting will, Jun Moxie sighed and shook his head. This person's potential was surely extraordinary, and his wit was also obviously good. But compared to those experts who'd grown up in the midst of blood and battle, he greatly lacked fighting spirit. Although he had the strength of a venerable, compared to real experts who'd gone through countless battles, his temperament was clearly different. When faced with an opponent he couldn't match, experts that had experienced many life and death experiences would firstly consider if they could first recruit the expert with benefits. If they couldn't, they would consider if they could use such an expert. If both options were impossible, they would consider if it was possible to thoroughly vanquish such an enemy by using all their strength and hidden trump cards, destroying the threat. If all else failed, the last option will be to sacrifice everything to save their lives and escape. If it was not possible to escape with their lives, they would choose to die in a valiant battle. It was better to die fighting than to be scared to death. Even if they had to die in battle, they would try to at least make the opponent bleed. That was the proper spirit of an expert of the pugilistic world. This venerable in front of them had clearly reached a considerable level in cultivation. But the spirit and will in his heart were too lacking. Right now, he didn't harbor any thoughts of escaping. Instead, there was only the desire to seek a way to continue living. This kind of attitude was the result of long periods of residing under the shade of a huge tree. These people did not have the spirit of a true expert. For people like that, they were only suitable to be relegated to a house guard. They were no longer suitable to roam through the pugilistic world. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 984. Why did you come out? In favorable environments, these kinds of people were naturally successful in every endeavor. But the instant they met a dangerous situation, they would instantly lose all their will to fight, surrendering almost immediately without a shred of resistance. It was precisely to prevent this that Jun Moxie had persisted in pushing the Heaven Destroyer and Spirit Devourer teams in such a harsh manner, allowing them to temper themselves in situations of life and death, gaining strength through adversity. Only like that could one gain true ability. No matter how strong or how big a tiger in the zoo was, even if it was 2 times larger than another tiger in the jungle, the instant the two fought, the result would be clear to see. This was the same meaning. The black-robed man had already taken a full 27 steps backwards. Only then did the black sword hover up and inch away from the black-robed man's eyeballs. At this moment, he'd already returned to the same spot before Jun Moxie and Miao Xiao Miao. The entire scene had caused Miao Xiao Miao to be completely stunned. Just what was going on? What kind of a sword was this? And just who was the owner of such a fiendish sword? Looking at Jun Moxie, she saw that this free and natural physique young prodigy's face was similarly filled with confusion and shock. Quite clearly, he also didn't know the origins of this sword. Stiffening slightly, Miao Xiao Miao turned and bowed respectfully to the sword. I wonder which senior had saved the lives of us 2 juniors. May I request for senior to show yourself for a moment for this little junior to thank you? The knight remained silent and nobody answered. Only the soft hum of the sword remained. Suddenly, the sword flashed, and with a light sound, it pierced through the black-robed man's chi-hai acupoint, exiting through his back. A tiny ball of red-colored liquid could be seen glistening atop the edge of the blade, slowly losing its luster. The black-robed man howled with pain and collapsed to the ground. That ball of blood was the essence of all his cultivation. And it had been completely consumed by that sword. Furthermore, it had also shattered his dantian. At this moment, he was already a useless cripple. Such a sudden reality was even more painful to accept for him than death. Screaming with rage and pain, he directly fainted. The last thought that fleeted through his mind was, "It's all finished." A bright light flashed from the devilish sword, and an indescribable evil spirit rushed out, instantly sweeping across the entire area like a hurricane. Everywhere it went, all the plants and green grasses withered, as if they had been eroded by a horde of evil spirits. After that, the sword resumed its lofty kingly aura as it hovered in the air, glowing gently like a bright moon in the night sky, casting its radiance on the common people. A look of heartfelt affection flashed in Miao Xiao Miao's eyes as she looked at it. Such a beautiful sword was something that no one could dislike. Just as Miao Xiao Miao thought that the mysterious expert was about to appear, the sword hummed lowly again and directly flew off, shooting into the sky as if it wished to tear through the heavens. When it reached a height of around a dozen zhang, a sword keen rang out, and the sword completely disappeared from the night sky. The land returned to darkness once again. All of a sudden, the sounds of bugs chirping and toads croaking resumed all at once, and the earth was suddenly filled with life again. It was as if nothing had happened here at all. This place where 7 people had lost their lives consecutively actually did not have the smell of blood at all. We're saved. A mysterious expert has saved us. Miao Xiao Miao's face was filled with worship as she muttered. When we return, I'll tell grandfather about this. I'm sure he'll know who this senior was. I will make sure to properly thank this mysterious senior later. In Miao Xiao Miao's heart, someone who could use such mysterious methods, yet did not seek the gratitude of others, simply leaving so straightforwardly, was undoubtedly a person with great virtue and prestige. Or perhaps, it wouldn't be strange for this reclusive expert to be that elusive old ancestor of the misty illusory manor. Jun Moxie's expression became somewhat conflicted as the previous fear returned to his face. I say, do you finally know how to be frightened now? Could it be that you didn't hear my voice transmission just now? You knew that it was dangerous, yet you chose to barge in like an idiot. Miao Xiao Miao looked at Jun Moxie and scolded huffily. Do you know just how close that situation just now had been? To think you could still chat away so leisurely with that masked man, bargaining with him. If that mysterious expert had been later by even a step, the both of us would have been doomed. As she spoke, she thought back to the horrifying fate that the black-robed man had described for her. In that moment, she could not help but shiver violently, as her face turned pale. But you can't blame me, to hear your voice in my head in such a secluded place. Anyone would think that they're dreaming. Jun Moxie explained with an embarrassed smile. At the same time, he mused in his heart. Not to mention 6 venerables waiting here. Even if they were 6 saint emperors, it wouldn't necessarily be much of a threat. What kind of danger would there be? If it's a trap that even this young master couldn't handle, what difference would it make even if you warned me? Of course, those words could not be said so straightforwardly. But speaking of which, why did you brat jump out for no good reason? Just your presence here had caused me so much more trouble. Of course, those words also couldn't be said so lightly. Dreaming? Dream your stupid idiot head. Miao Xiao Miao's eyes widened and she stamped her foot angrily. But, could it be that this fellow was thinking about me when he was walking by himself? Otherwise, how could he think that he was still dreaming when he heard my voice? In the end, the scare that she'd received was simply too great. But this Mo Jun Xie in front of her seemed to be quite unfazed still, causing Miao Xiao Miao to feel even more ridiculous. Look at yourself. You don't have the capability to go against them. But you actually had the gall to stand there and provoke those people with your words, cursing their family. What would you do if the savior hadn't arrived? If that senior arrived late by even one step, wouldn't your little life be over? Jun Moxie rolled his eyes in an exasperated manner. Why can't I scold them? It's precisely because I'm not a match for them that I should curse them all the more. Did you think that with those guys hiding here to ambush me, they would let me go if I didn't curse them? No matter what I choose, the result is still death. In that case, why can't I scold them? Even if it's just to satisfy and vent my anger before getting killed, it's still better than die pleading them. Miao Xiao Miao found that her words had rebounded against an extremely hard and stubborn wall, and she suddenly could not reply. This Mo Jun Xie, no matter what he said or did, had his own weird logic for everything. This weird logic might not necessarily be right, but it wasn't exactly wrong either. In any case, just listening to his words gave one an odd feeling, but it was impossible to pick out what was weird about it. Just like now, the two of them had just escaped from a deadly crisis, but he could still stand there and spout his own weird logic so forthrightly. Yet she couldn't retort his words at all. Whatever. That senior who saved us today was simply too cool and too formidable. Miao Xiao Miao ignored this great prodigy Mo and instantly switched the topic, chirping excitedly. My God. That was the complete sword control technique. I've only heard of it before, but I've never actually seen it with my own eyes. Seeing it today, it's simply too. After thinking for a long time, Miao Xiao Miao still couldn't find suitable words to describe it. However, this did not hinder her excitement at all. Did you know? There's only less than 10 people in the entire Misty Illusory Manor who are capable of such a thing. Furthermore, all of them are seniors who've lived for a shockingly long time. AI. Also, that sword was simply too beautiful, too dreamy. If only I could have a sword like that, AI. As she said that, her eyes grew misty and she actually sunk into a fanciful dream while speaking. It was best to not attempt to guess the mind of a girl. One moment, she could be speaking to you about one thing, and the next moment, she would be talking about an entirely different matter. It was simply too. Jun Moxie looked at the unconscious black-robed man on the ground, and he shook his head speechlessly as he finally interrupted the excited girl. I say, Miss Miao, this fellow is still alive. Should we wake him up and interrogate him? This is the only survivor we have left. At the same time, he scolded internally. Can you stop being so amazed for a moment? The powerful senior whom you revere so much is right in front of you, listening to your crazy antics. Can we talk about the proper matters first? It doesn't seem that appropriate for us to question this person. Let's bring him back first, and there will naturally be someone more suitable to question him. Miao Xiao Miao seemed to have already made up her decision on this matter long ago. Finally retracting her excitement, she said, it doesn't matter whose subordinate this black-robed man is, or which large family he belongs to. Today's matter is absolutely unforgivable. We are ultimately still inexperienced juniors, so there are many things we wouldn't understand that clearly. If we act impulsively, it could end up with irrevocable mistakes. In that case, we might as well toss the difficult matter to the elders. In any case, they're currently extremely free with nothing to do. Jun Moxie had not expected that this little brat's mind would be so bright. Without needing him to remind her, she had already thought of this. Since Miao Xiao Miao had given such a good suggestion, young Master Jun didn't see any need to oppose the decision. Changing the topic, he asked, "Miss Miao, it's quite a normal thing for me to be traveling on this road. But why are you here as well?" When this matter was raised, Miao Xiao Miao instantly became flustered, and she hurriedly shifted her eyes, looking at her feet in a mortified manner. "It's one thing for you to be here. But why did you jump out in such a dangerous situation?" The situation just now was already decided. If a savior hadn't appeared, I would definitely be dead without a doubt. Even if you showed yourself, it wouldn't have changed anything. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 985. Just so that we will not miss each other in the next life. This was the only part that Jun Moxie couldn't understand at all. From the way he saw it, her revealing herself would not do anything other than stir up more trouble and increase the danger to herself. "You think that I wanted to come out? It's just that I still owe you something. So if I didn't come out at that time, I would no longer have that opportunity." Miao Xiao Miao turned around and said in a light voice. "Owe me something?" Jun Moxie raised his brows with confusion. This time, young Master Jun was not acting. He truly didn't know what this young lady Miao meant. "I've said before that if you won the competition today, I would let you see my true appearance. You might have taken it to be a joke, but I meant it seriously." Miao Xiao Miao's voice sounded very soft and gentle, carrying a dreamy sense. However, Jun Moxie still felt his mind shaken violently. "At that time, I decided that even if both of us would die, I would honor my promise to show you my true appearance before you died." Miao Xiao Miao's voice trembled slightly, as if she were repressing some kind of emotion. "That way, even if there was no savior and the two of us died, I hoped that if there's a next life, you will still be able to remember my face. Just so that if there's a next life, you will not miss me and we will not pass each other by." Miao Xiao Miao's body shook, and she lifted her head to look at Jun Moxie with her eyes filled with tears. "If there's a next life, we must not pass each other by." Jun Moxie felt a violent bang in his heart. Looking at the painful expression in Miao Xiao Miao's eyes, he suddenly felt his heart softening. In that instant, he seemed to recall a song playing in his ears, a melody from his past life. "I think that I should meet you in a different way. Even if we can't be together in this life, I'm willing to wait until my next life, to be with you. You will develop renewed feelings for me, and I will silently pray to the heavens to be careful with you, not letting your looks change. Whether you are in a bustling city or a remote village, I will recognize you at a glance." 1. Such a deep love. How can I bear it? At this time, Jun Moxie's heart was heavy, as if it were filled with lead. Jun Moxie raised his head towards the sky and sighed heavily. In that moment, his throat felt dry and parched, and his heart was incredibly complicated. Looking at the deep emotions in Miao Xiao Miao's eyes, facing this girl that had not hesitated to jump out to face life and death with him, these feelings that refused to pass on even though she had to confront certain death. Jun Moxie's heart was currently in a mess. "But your veil is not something I can lift." Jun Moxie turned his head and said bitterly. "Your true appearance is also not something that I can see." Since when did the confident number one genius of the world suddenly become so humble and lacking in self-confidence? Do you really look down on yourself so much? Great prodigy Mo? Hearing the rejection in his voice, Miao Xiao Miao smiled lightly. In the wispy coldness of the night, she seemed like a sad elf, standing still as the winds tugged at the corners of her dress. Her dress fluttering lightly, Miao Xiao Miao stepped forward lightly, as if she were treading upon the moonlight, slowly approaching Jun Moxie. There was basically no distance between them, and the two's bodies were almost sticking tightly together. Both sides could feel the warmth from the other's breath. Look at me. Look at me. Indescribable passion flashed in Miao Xiao Miao's eyes. Jun Moxie leaned back with great effort, barely extending the distance between the two of them. Finally, he lifted his head and looked at those pair of beautiful eyes in front of him. You said that you couldn't lift my veil, and you cannot see my true appearance, but do you know? Miao Xiao Miao's eyes trembled bitterly. You've already lifted the veil of my heart long ago. Apart from you, no one else can see the real me. Jun Moxie couldn't say anything, and a sour feeling rose in his heart. Us girls of the misty illusory manor can only lift our veils for one person in our entire lives. Miao Xiao Miao's words had become more heated as her tone steeled with reckless abandon. Mo Junyi, lift the veil. Jun Moxie's body shook visibly. Jun Moxie could easily face tens of thousands of enemies without a change of expression, even when he was facing the relentless hatred of the three holy lands back then with just his strength of Sky Xian or Spirit Xian. He could kill tens of millions of people mercilessly without so much as a tiny bit of tremble in his hands. But in this moment, facing this clear and bright pair of eyes, he was somewhat at a loss of what to do as he looked at the veil, which seemed as if it would fly off by itself with a stronger gust of wind. For the first time, his eyes grew uncertain. He didn't dare to. He truly didn't dare to take the next step forward. What was standing in front of him was a debt of blood and a debt on his conscience. Jun Moxie had come here only for the seven-colored holy fruit. One could say that his intentions were not good. Even the face he was wearing right now was not his real identity. Without a doubt, Miao Xiao Miao had been thoroughly deceived of her feelings. Everything that Jun Moxie did, he only sought to have a clear conscience. But could he really say that his conscience was clear right now? Perhaps one day, he might even become enemies with the misty illusory manor because of the rainbow holy tree. At that time, whose side would Miao Xiao Miao stand on? These feelings were not something that Jun Moxie could accept. However, Miao Xiao Miao's persistence and boldness to love and hate had truly vastly exceeded his expectations. Remove it. Miao Xiao Miao bit her lip lightly and stared unblinkingly at Jun Moxie, without any intention of retreating. Instead, she took yet another step forward. Jun Moxie could not help but take a step backwards. You refuse to remove it? Miao Xiao Miao's eyes hardened. Fine. Since you will not remove my veil, I will do it myself. Mo Junyi, you'd better remember this. Ever since I, Miao Xiao Miao, have grown up, you are the first man that has ever seen my true appearance. In this life, I'm following you no matter what. A human in life, and a ghost in death. I've decided to be yours. Jun Moxie opened and closed his mouth, his mind whirring with shock. He subconsciously raised his hand to stop her, but Miao Xiao Miao's hands shot up with great speed, and with a schwa sound, the veil fluttered down gently. Before he could react, the veil was already in her hands. Although Miao Xiao Miao's face appeared calm, but her fingers had already turned white from gripping the veil too hard. Jun Moxie felt his mind spinning, and he shut his eyes uncontrollably. Because The face in front of him was actually so peerlessly beautiful and exquisite. Her brows was like a pair of beautiful mountains enveloped by the darkness of night. Her eyes, as clear and bright as spring water. That pointy little nose, and long eyelashes, skin as fair as jade, lips of cherry and a sharp chin. If Mei Shuiyan's beauty could be considered elegant, poised and classy, Guan Qinghan was like an ice princess, cold and untouchable. Dugu Xiao Yi cute and girly. Then Miao Xiao Miao was simply exquisite. Refined and exquisite without the slightest flaw. Even an artist who sought perfection would never be able to find a hint of flaw on that face. Because that face was the epitome of perfection. The coordination of the 5 features were just right to an extremely accurate level. Miao Xiao Miao's face slowly reddened, as if someone had suddenly applied a layer of rouge on her cheeks. Her gaze had become misty, carrying a strange shyness. Her long lashes fluttered in an anxious manner, and after a long pause, she mumbled, "Idiot, have you looked enough? How long do you want to stare at me for?" I didn't see anything." Jun Moxie hurriedly shut his eyes and shook his head repeatedly. "I didn't see anything. Really didn't see anything." "But you did. And you know best yourself whether you've seen it." At this time, Miao Xiao Miao no longer cared about her image as a girl as she stomped her feet, not knowing if she should laugh or be angry. "Mo Junyi, you're trying to be deliberately shameless. Even if you want to back out, you've still seen my face. In this lifetime, I'm sticking to you. I'm a person of your Mo family in life, and a ghost of your Mo family in death." Jun Moxie made a strange sobbing sound in his throat, and he stuttered in a panicked voice as though he was about to start crying. I'll be beaten to death. I'll definitely be beaten to death. I'm finished, truly finished." "Who dares?" Miao Xiao Miao snorted with rage. "Whoever dares to beat you, I'll beat that person up." After saying that, she smiled shyly and looked at Jun Moxie. "Husband, don't worry. My grandpa and father dote on me the most. If there's nobody whom my heart desires, they might still marry me off for the sake of the family. But if I already, they will most likely consent to the 2 of us. Moreover, you have the support of the misty illusory manor. I'm sure grandpa and father will be happy to see us together." "What? I'm not worried about your grandfather or your father," Jun Moxie said in an anxious voice, nearly bursting into tears. "I'm worried about my mom." Only when the words came out of his mouth did he remember, the person whom he had the least need to worry about was probably his mother. Dongfang Wen Xian only wished that Jun Moxie could marry a few more back home for her. With regards to a matter like this, she would be more than glad to fan the flames. The ones he was truly worried about was Mei Shuiyan and Guan Qinghan. With just a mere thought, he could already imagine the wrath of the icy cold mountain-like beauty and the dominating anger of a queen. Jun Moxie felt as if he had been caught in bed with a mistress. In that moment, all the hairs on his skin stood up on their ends and he shivered in spite of the warmth. "Give me a bit of time. All right?" Jun Moxie sighed and said in a defeated manner. "Of course." Only now did Miao Xiao Miao feel her face burning up. Lowering her head, she did not dare look at Jun Moxie anymore. Her voice had become as soft as a mosquito's as she mumbled, "Husband, as long as you, I will definitely wait for you." Jun Moxie sighed heavily in his heart, and he felt his heart growing sour again with pain. The night's wind was cold and gentle, blowing lightly across the land. The 2 stood across from each other, both with their heads lowered, neither speaking a single word. At this time, Jun Xie's heart was in chaos, while Miao Xiao Miao's heart was bursting with joy and shyness. It felt like the relaxation of finishing a whole day of work. Her whole body bereft of strength, a strange feeling that she could collapse at any time. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 986. Tyrant. It was merely a couple of sentences, but it felt more draining than a full-out battle. All the strength was lacking in her body. Even her body couldn't help but sway unsteadily. This time, there was no reservation and she simply blurted out her feelings in a forceful confession. Now that her wish had been accomplished, Miao Xiao Miao felt embarrassed as the realization hit her. Things were already over, but she felt confused. Where did I get all that earlier courage from? Biting her lips and rolling her eyes, she looked at Jun Xie, suddenly feeling a wave of frustration. This fool. I have already made it so clear already. Why aren't you coming to comfort me? Even a light hug would be good. Yet her face began to turn red from this thought. Hey, what am I thinking about? How can I be so shameless? But I wonder how would it feel to be hugged in his arms. What are you thinking about? Miao Xiao Miao gathered all her courage to say something, but this was the sentence that left her mouth. I'm thinking, what should I do? Jun Xie sighed. What should you do? Don't worry. You are the owner of the legendary free and natural physique. All the old seniors of the misty illusory manor hold you in high regard. As long as you work hard in your cultivation, your achievements will definitely be remarkable and you'll undoubtedly advance rapidly. Although you do not have any foundations and relations currently, no one will neglect your potential growth. Even compared to me, your status is not that much lower. I really don't understand what you are worrying about. Since you have the guts to offend the Zhan family, what's the problem with dating me? You don't have to undervalue yourself. Miao Xiao Miao comforted. In her heart, of course she assumed that Jun Xie was worried about her high status. He felt that his current position was still not worthy enough to be her match. So she did everything she could to comfort him. I must not let him look down upon himself or make him undervalue himself. That is not what I am thinking about. You don't understand. Jun Xie mumbled. And I still can't understand why you would make a decision like this. Does this really need a reason? Miao Xiao Miao cheekily questioned him back. Her beautiful eyes glistened as she recounted. Since I first met you, you've given me a completely different feeling. You felt like a complete country bumpkin, but when faced with a young master from an influential family like Gu Feiyu, you forced him into a disadvantageous position step by step, ultimately causing him to suffer injuries and vomit blood. At that point in time, Gu Feiyu could have killed you with a finger alone, but you still managed to push him to that state. It was really admirable. Jun Xie rubbed his nose and laughed bitterly. You really think too highly of Gu Feiyu. Is he capable of killing me with a finger alone? And you also really think too highly of me. I can easily crush him with my finger in reality. How can I not be confident? And the poems you come up with randomly. Every single line is so enchanting. This made me realize what an erudite you are. Miao Xiao Miao raised her eyes. Admiration and adoration in them. Young lady, you have once again thought too highly of me. All those are plagiarized. Ah. Jun Xie lamented helplessly in his head. Afterwards, you bravely faced the challenge and turned every single round into a victory despite all the difficulties. And forcing the opponent to be unable to show their face. Be it in chess or music. They were all full of surprises. It's as if there is nothing that you do not know. Do you know how irresistible these are to a woman? All those were also plagiarized. Why did I do it? Could it be that I've dug my own grave? Jun Moxie whined internally. At that point in time, I promised you that if you were able to win, I'd let you remove my veil. Actually, at that point in time, I was still uncertain and doubtful. Miao Xiao Miao laughed at herself. Until the moment just now, when you were faced with that attack, on the brink of death, I only realized that there was a sudden ache in my heart, and I was genuinely sad. At that point in time, I asked myself, if you had died, what would I do? Then I heard myself saying, if you died, then I don't want to live either. So I rushed out. Actually, even until now, I still do not understand what is it for. But either way, I just charged my way out. And the way you maintained that cheeky and teasing attitude when faced with enemies that you could barely fight, not even viewing them seriously and not paying great attention to your own safety. This sort of carefreeness and magnanimity was really very enthralling. Jun Moxie finally let out a long sigh. What else could it be? It's just because I am confident that I'll absolutely win. Ah, you lass. All the things you've mentioned. It is all ultimately because I have trump cards in my hands. Jun Moxie was a little at a loss about what to say. He did not expect this. What is going on? I just randomly captured a maiden's heart like this? Young Master Jun may be someone from two worlds and was extremely clever, but he had never understood the hearts of maidens in both lives. The feelings of a maiden were a complete mystery. A young maiden may not develop feelings of adoration after spending several years with a man, but she may just fall in love without any complaints with a man she had just met, and never change her mind on it. A maiden's heart was the most difficult thing to comprehend in the world. I still feel that our meeting is really too brief. Miss Miao, I'd advise you to reconsider carefully. After all, it has only been a day. And we do not understand each other that well. We don't even understand each other. Jun Moxie said. Ah. Miao Xiao Miao cried in surprise, as if she had snapped out of her dreams. If you didn't mention it, I'd have forgotten about it. So we've only met each other today. But I feel as if we've known each other for 3 eternities already. Then her expression turned flustered. Then, did you think that I'm a very easy girl? Her expression was very nervous, as if she was very concerned about this. I didn't. Jun Moxie sighed and comforted. That's good. That's good. Miao Xiao Miao heaved a sigh of relief. Thinking back on the issue earlier, she pouted. The duration of time spent knowing each other, what can it represent? I have known people like Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu for years, but so what? Didn't I only learn of their true colors today? Jun Moxie was completely speechless. Could this be the legendary woman in love? To be this blinded? Actually, Miao Xiao Miao was feeling extremely nervous. From the exchanges with this Mo Jun Xie, she could tell that this youth was the person she had dreamt of entrusting her lifelong happiness to. But this Mo Jun Xie seemed to have a huge flaw. Or perhaps to say, a strong point. Other men would either be drooling or stumped when they saw a great beauty. But this guy with the legendary free and natural physique? He was capable of all flowery languages. But when he really saw a beautiful girl, he completely disregarded her and found all sorts of excuses. If she was hoping for someone like him to take the initiative to confess, all the flowers would have wilted. Does he really want me, a girl, to take the initiate? This is truly so embarrassing. I don't care anymore. A good man like this. If I don't put my reservations aside and take the initiative, who knows when he'll be snatched away by someone else? Fastest finger wins. Hasn't my veil already been removed by myself today? What harm is there in being proactive once more? Miao Xiao Miao may seem like a quiet and graceful girl, but she was a girl that dared to love and hate what she liked. She would do everything in her power to obtain it, because this was her lifelong happiness. No one else could replace her to do it. Towards other matters, Miao Xiao Miao definitely had many reservations. But when it came to her true love, she was unusually courageous about it. Because her environment also forced her, there was indeed not much time left for Miao Xiao Miao to make her choice. If she was unable to make up her mind quickly, perhaps she would become the sacrificial object for her family's benefits within the next few days. Especially when there were only 5 days until the opening of the spiritual herbal gardens. If the rainbow holy tree didn't choose her, then she'd have to face the problem of marriage the moment she came out. There was no doubt about this. All the so-called dream meetings were just her one-sided childish thoughts. It was completely impossible. So Miao Xiao Miao didn't have any time left to drag it out. If Jun Moxie had agreed readily from the moment she confessed, Miao Xiao Miao might doubt her own choice. But the more Jun Moxie rejected, the more determined Miao Xiao Miao was about her decision. This was a peculiar way of thinking. Not just Miao Xiao Miao, any human would have this sort of mentality. The more you got refused, the more you desire it. What you could not have would always be the best. Miao Xiao Miao could finally be relieved after saying everything she wanted to say. She couldn't help but turn red from the thought of her own act. It was as if she was forcing a marriage. She was like a tyrant who snatched a bride to force her to marry himself. As her mind wandered, a thought popped in her heart. It doesn't matter whether you agree or not. Either way, I have my eyes set on you. You are destined to become mine now. If I say that you are, then you are. Even if you aren't. Whatever. You have to agree. And even if you disagree, you'll have to agree. Her mind was wandering all over the place, and she didn't know what she was thinking about anymore. She only felt as if she were floating on a cloud, speaking whatever was on her mind. She unconsciously spilled her thoughts. It doesn't matter whether you agree or not. Either way, I have my eyes set on you. You are destined to become mine now. If I say that you are, then you are. Even if you aren't. Whatever. You have to agree. And even if you disagree, you'll have to agree. The moment she said it, she shrieked in embarrassment, squatting onto the ground and covering her face. The embarrassment was too much. Goodness. Why did I say something like this? Things like this can just be kept inside. Why did I accidentally spill it subconsciously? And it is even heard by him. It's all over. Right now, Jun Moxie was completely stupefied. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 987. Perplexion of the Heart. Young Master Jun's mind short-circuited upon hearing this absolute beauty speaking the words of a hooligan. Is this still that gentle and sweet-tempered Miao Xiao Miao? Who is this? This is a little too shrewish. In an instant, young Master Jun felt like he had turned into a young woman, and there was a mountain bandit right before him, waving his chopper and arranging her as he pleased, announcing her fate that she now belonged to him. This world is really bizarre. Young Master Jun rubbed his nose as he laughed bitterly. He noticed that since he came into misty illusory manner, he had been rubbing his nose a lot more than usual. It's not early. We really should make a move. Jun Moxie looked at the black-robed man. A huge puddle of fresh blood had formed under him. The injury that had penetrated right through him was definitely not light. He sure can faint. Not even waking up after such a long time. It works even if you make a noise during this entire time. I can also make some terms with you. But to think that you don't even feel any pain? Jun Moxie really felt helpless. Miao Xiao Miao seemed as if she was about to forget all about this important witness. By the time Miao Xiao Miao remembered him, this fellow would probably have died from blood loss already. Secretly flicking his finger, a gust of air swiftly sealed the bleeding wound on that black-robed man. If he was left to bleed like that, this person definitely would not survive. Go, where do we go? Miao Xiao Miao asked shyly, still covering her face. It's already this late. If I don't go home, everyone will be worried. She jumped and said. Yes, you should hurry home. Young Master Jun said urgently, as if he were being freed from a burden. His hurry was obvious through his words. Miao Xiao Miao suddenly glared unsatisfactorily at Jun Moxie, an anger and unfriendly expression on her face. Jun Moxie felt confused and followed her gaze to scan himself. You're so eager for me to leave? Then I shall not go. Miao Xiao Miao rolled her eyes. I'm wrong. Jun Moxie only felt as if his entire head was in a fight. If you want me to forgive you, then you must answer one question of mine. Miao Xiao Miao was an intelligent girl. She knew that it was not the stage where she could throw a tantrum. That competition in completing the couplet. Did you really not manage to match it prior to this? Now that I think about it, the more I feel that it was a trap that you had intentionally arranged. That first line was an absolute line, but as long as the crux is figured out, it is not that difficult to match it. The only difficulty is that the time given was too short, and haste makes it harder to come up with it. Haha. Jun Moxie felt the urge to laugh thinking of how Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu thought they were clever but ended up hitting their own feet. Miss Miao is intelligent. That was indeed the truth of the matter. That couplet was indeed not that difficult to match. Its essence is still rather superficial. Even if it cannot be done instantly, it would have been matched after such a long time. Only those two fools from the Zhan family would really think that I cannot match it. Actually, the two brothers of the Zhan family are really stupid. The trap was laid right before their eyes, yet they just walked right into it. But you said that the essence of this couplet is superficial? Aren't you talking a little too big? The magnanimity of the first line of the couplet was so full of arrogance. It is not that difficult to just match it in construction. But to be able to match that sort of imposing might is extremely difficult. How could it be superficial? Heaven as the chessboard. Stars as chess pieces. Who is able to play it? This first line is truly impressive. But the second line you came up with is also amazing. The land be the pipa. Path be the string. Who dares to play? Haha. It's still the same line. As long as you know the crux within it, it is not difficult to match this couplet. Besides, there is not only one answer for the second line. Jun Moxie rubbed his nose again. I'm going to get a nose inflammation. Not only one. Miao Xiao Miao's eyes widened. I thought for such a long time, but I couldn't come up with a sentence that is suitable to match this line. Don't tell me that you actually have a few of them. For example, thunder as the battle drums, Lightning as the flags. Who dares to battle? Jun Moxie chuckled. This line is one that is truly arrogant and imposing. Thunder as the battle drums. Lightning as the flags. Who dares to battle? Brilliant. It is truly brilliant. Miao Xiao Miao repeated it softly, the look in her eyes turning brighter and brighter. The way she gazed at Jun Moxie also became more and more gentle. Jun, your talent is really beyond words. Jun Moxie perspired furiously. This was also plagiarize. If I can be very honest, I really don't have the talent to match it. Oh dear. Little Beansprout is still over there. I struck her acupuncture point earlier. Miao Xiao Miao shrieked and hurried over and picked her up, removing the cloak of invisibility as she released Little Beansprout's acupuncture points. The little lass yelled the moment she opened her eyes. Miss! It's dangerous. Don't go. Clearly her conscience was still stuck in the moment Miao Xiao Miao charged out. Opening her big round eyes and looking at Jun Moxie and Miao Xiao Miao standing before her, she was stunned. After a long while, she shook her head and said adorably, Miss and young Master Mo, why are the both of you still alive? What is going on? Could I still be dreaming? Both of them broke out in laughter simultaneously. It's getting late. Both of you should hurry back home soon. Jun Moxie chuckled. The future is long, why the need to be so pressed right now? Indeed. It is true that the future is long. The look in Miao Xiao Miao's eyes turned softer as she looked at Jun Moxie. Then. I'm leaving now. Jun Moxie nodded his head. Little Beansprout only noticed that Miao Xiao Miao was holding onto her veil. She was surprised, but exclaimed excitedly. Miss, you, congratulations to you for achieving your dreams. What achieving my dreams? What nonsense are you spouting? Miao Xiao Miao instantly turned red. She gently pinched at Little Beansprout's face and pouted playfully. Afterwards, she instructed Little Beansprout to drag the black-robed man on the ground before turning to Jun Moxie. Jun, you still owe me the score for the Song of the Burial of Flowers. I'll go and find you for it tomorrow. Don't you bail on me, Jun Moxie agreed with a bitter laugh. There was a flash of white before his eyes. A white veil drifted across his face. Jun Moxie reached and caught it out of instinct. Miao Xiao Miao's bashful voice came ringing from far away. This is what you removed. So it belongs to you. Far away, Miao Xiao Miao and Little Beansprout were two tiny silhouettes left. How is it something I removed? You were the one who took it off on your own. But his thoughts were in a whirl as he held on to this white veil. That softness of the cloth in his hand gave him an intoxicating feeling. From the veil, a light, refreshing fragrance of a maiden could be smelled. It was the fragrance from Miao Xiao Miao's body. Jun Moxie sighed internally. I really don't know how to settle this debt of affection. After mulling in his thoughts, he kept the white veil and activated the yin-yang escape, concealing himself as he chased in the direction Miao Xiao Miao headed in. This place was still out in the wilderness. Miao Xiao Miao and her maid were just two girls. Even though Miao Xiao Miao's cultivation was not ordinary, there were too many ambitious people in this place with profound levels of cultivation. There was no guarantee that there would be no other accidents. It was better to be safe. Seeing Miao Xiao Miao and Little Beansprout moving along rapidly, the conversation between them drifted into Jun Moxie's ears. Miss, you are really impressive. That young Master Mo really looks like he is completely taken by you. What do you mean by taken by me? You silly lass. How can you be so crude in your words? Miss, how did you do it? That young Master Mo is clever and honest, very talented, and has the free and natural physique. His future is endless. He is an extremely ideal husband. Little Beansprout's words almost made young Master Ju, and who was currently concealed, stumble headfirst into the ground. God, to think that there is someone who says that I'm clever and honest. The level of evaluation is a bit off the scale. After a long while, Miao Xiao Miao finally replied. What attracted me was not his future, but him as a person. True. Young Master Mo is good at everything, just that his appearance is a bit too ugly. He is only unworthy of Miss in this aspect. But there is no perfect person anyway. Little Beansprouts made Jun Moxie stumble again. Nonsense. How is young Master Mo ugly? I think he looks fine. Miao Xiao Miao's voice was hushed. From her tone it was obvious that her face was completely red already. Fine. Fine. I won't say anything else. All right? But how are you going to tell old Master about this? This doesn't seem like it'll be easy to say, even though young Master Mo's status is not ordinary. But Little Beansprout's voice changed to that of concern. AI. Let's take each step at a time. With Miao Xiao Miao's sigh, both of them drifted into a huge manor. 2 words were written on the golden painted plate on the door, Miao Manor. Jun Moxie halted as he looked at the great door of the most influential family in the misty illusory manor. He only felt his entire mind go blank from all the thoughts whirling in there. What should I do? What should you do? If there is a future, then, what should I do? What should you do? Standing under the dazzling, starlit night sky, young Master Jun's mind was in turmoil. It was impossible to sort it out. Right now, he completely had no idea what he should do about the situation. This was the first time in both lives he was experiencing such a conflicting thought. His previous life he spent intoxicating himself at clubs for the sake of necessity. Only playing along with the conditions, there was no real feelings involved. But it was also because of this that he had saved plenty of trouble. But in this life, in a feudalistic society like this was a man's paradise. It made complete sense for a man, especially a successful one, to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Even women completely accept this mindset. If you were lacking in wives, that meant you were incapable or that you had been subdued by the tigress at home. Otherwise, the more the better. Like how young Master Jun's mother in this world, Dongfang Wen Xian, despite only loving her husband Jun Hui, requested her son to marry a few more wives to bear a few more sons and daughters. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 988. The Start of Disorder. There were plenty of women around Jun Moxie, and they were all devastatingly gorgeous. There was no burden on his conscience with Dugu Xiao Yi and Guan Qinghan. Even back then, outside Tian Fa Forest, when Dugu Xiao Yi's drugging incident cost Guan Qinghan, Jun Moxie did not feel that he owed anything. He perhaps only felt apologetic at most. Even now, it had already become a logical fact. Because in young Master Jun's heart, Guan Qinghan was his woman and so was Dugu Xiao Yi. As someone who loved him, they would have to be together someday. There was no difference whether something was done earlier or later. At least, there was not much emotional burden concerning it. Because he would be responsible for the rest of this woman's life and had the abilities to be responsible for all these women who loved him. Everything moved smoothly even with Mei Shuiyan. There was no hindrance at all. Even Han Yen Meng showed signs of interest towards him. His loyal little maid, Little Ku, was also similarly deeply emotionally attached to him. But Jun Moxie treated all of this with a laissez-faire attitude and just went along with the flow. If these women really chose to leave for the embrace of someone else, perhaps young Master Jun would feel upset for some time. But it was not impossible for him to accept it. He may even deliver a generous dowry to let her be married off in a grand manner, as if he were marrying his own younger sister off. Of course, if these women ultimately chose to stay beside him, Jun Moxie would also not force them out. But this time, since his arrival in the misty illusory manor, young Master Jun sincerely felt a sense of conflict and defeat. Although the misty illusory manor was not like the three holy lands and was not his enemy, they still had a part to play in plotting against the three holy lands. Both sides were still half-enemies. But since this journey began, the love and protection that Chao Guofeng and the 6 other saint emperors had shown him was doubtless. Although all of these was built on a fake identity, a premise of having a supernatural physique, these feelings deeply moved Jun Moxie. For the sake of his selfish, deceitful goal, he ultimately received the most sincere feelings from his enemies. This really made Jun Moxie feel apologetic. Even though he had tried to make up for the lifespan Chao Guofeng had lost, it didn't do much to relieve Jun Moxie's guilt. The other party was doing it sincerely from their own hearts, while he had other intentions. This discrepancy was too great. Since I arrived in misty illusory manor, the fake identity I created quickly turned me into the darling of this place, and especially of those old seniors and elders that are held in high regard. All of them are earnest in their expectations of me. Although the ultimate goal of all these people is the future of misty illusory manor, these feelings of love and care still completely descended on Jun Moxie. Because he was the legendary owner of the free and natural physique, where the hope of misty illusory manor's future lay. Jun Moxie could imagine that if someday he accidentally exposed his real identity, whether he had successfully stolen the rainbow holy tree, the conclusion would be the same. All these people will definitely feel an unimaginable sense of disappointment and rage. Jun Moxie similarly felt guilty from the thought of this. And there was Miao Xiao Miao who had just left. Miao Xiao Miao was the most outstanding junior in the younger generation of the Miao family. She was clever and highly skilled in her xian cultivation. But she was still a young lady in the prime of her youth who had just had her first awakening of love. And today, she took the initiative and opened her heart to me. When faced with a treacherous situation, she also wanted to go through life and death with me. Even if it's death, she wants to go through it with me. How am I supposed to endure this feeling? How do I repay it? Just so that if there is a next life, you can remember my face, and we will not miss each other. How powerful and resonating was this sentence? How could Jun Moxie be capable of remaining aloof? Can someone with a heart of stone really not be emotionally moved from hearing this sentence? The girls of the misty illusory manor only loved one person their whole life. The moment that veil came off from Miao Xiao Miao's face, there was no turning back for her. This infatuated girl had entrusted her entire life to Jun Moxie. Or rather, handed it to Mo Junyi. Was this love blind? No. It was not. If Mo Junyi was really a Mo Junyi with the free and natural physique, then Miao Xiao Miao's choice and feelings would not be in vain. It would definitely not be fruitless. And the ultimate ending would definitely be blissful. And it'd even become a great story that would be universally appreciated. But Mo Junyi was Jun Moxie. If one day, My identity is exposed and I flee. This girl. Will she be able to continue living? The deceit of a lover. A roll of the eyes. The censure from the family. And that sense of disappointment and despair from her heart. What was a weak young girl supposed to do with it? How was she to endure it? Jun Xie could practically foresee it. The moment he pulled away and left, the situation would be like a gorgeous face that withered away. But could he not leave? No. This was undoubtedly a huge contradiction. A contradiction that was impossible to resolve. And that day was destined to be near. It could just be within the next couple of days. Jun Xie suddenly felt a sense of loss. A loss that he could not shake off. Could it be that for the sake of the happiness of his own family, he must create another tragedy? Or, perhaps, the only other more feasible method would be to bring Miao Xiao Miao along when I leave. But, will she leave with me? And all the love and care from the misty illusory manor, what should I do about it? Am I really supposed to repay them in such an ungrateful manner? Then, am I still that Jun Xie who acts on my own whim with a clear conscience? From today onwards, how am I supposed to live with a peace of mind? All the various matters left Jun Xie feeling like his entire head was a mess. In a state like this, he returned back to the courtyard in a distracted manner. Thank goodness he was still in the yin-yang escape. Otherwise he would have walked into numerous walls already. The moment he stepped in the door, young Master Jun finally returned to his senses. Glancing over, he happened to see his master Chao Guofeng and the other 5 Saint Emperors waiting for him in the courtyard. Only Bai Chi Feng was missing. Upon noticing how preoccupied he seemed, Chao Guofeng hurriedly asked him about what happened after he left. Jun Xie had a lot on his mind, but he decided to pass the buck onto the Zhan family, since they were the only ones young Master Jun did not like in the misty illusory manner. So he shared about the forced competition in Drifting Fragrance Lodge in detail. As to those 6 venerable assassins that came after he offended someone, he spared none of the details, completely adding a whole lot of nonsense to exaggerate it. The first half was still all right. Although young Master Jun was forced to take part in the competition, he still emerged victorious. But when everyone heard about someone trying to assassinate Jun Xie halfway, all of them were furious. All 6 of them broke out in a cold sweat when they found out that those 6 assassins had the cultivation level of venerables. They were really too careless. They thought that since the free and natural physique was the hope of the entire misty illusory manor, and everyone was a part of the misty illusory manor, they'd all have the same goal and there would be no other accidents. There may be some disputes, but definitely no threat to his life. But they had not expected that there was also such a stirring undercurrent in the misty illusory manor. Perhaps the older seniors all hoped that this youth with the free and natural physique would be able to grow up safely and become a pillar of the misty illusory manor. But it seemed that there were also people who hoped that he was dead. After listening to Jun Xie's complete recount of the events, although Saint Emperor Chao Guofeng was extremely thankful that his successor had someone who rescued him when he was in danger, he was feeling sad and furious. Li Jia and Wang Neng were disciples that he had spent effort and carefully groomed for years. He had never imagined that in the face of danger, they would choose to betray Jun Xie without any hesitation. Betraying his only hope in this entire life. Right now, Chao Guofeng was hopping around and hollering in anger. If those 2 guys weren't dead and appeared before him, the enraged Chao Guofeng would rip them into shreds without any hesitation. While the 6 Saint Emperors heaved a sigh of relief, they wondered who that mysterious expert that had saved Jun Xie was. With the way that mysterious expert manipulated that bizarre sword, he would have had great reputation with such an obvious trademark. But they had never heard of anyone like that in the misty illusory manner. A figure flashed and Bai Chi Feng returned. From far away, he laughed and said, "So this lad has already returned, making me go on a wasted trip. I practically went through the entire mountain." Turned out that Saint Emperor Bai couldn't endure seeing how Jun Moxie had yet to return when it was so late, so he went out to search. "You guys might not know. I think something happened at old Miao's place." That old Miao suddenly yelled so loudly, practically shaking the entire misty illusory manor. I wonder which person offended him this time. But it looks like it'll be a great show again. Bai Chi Feng said gleefully. "This show might need you to act in personally for it to happen," Chao Guofeng said darkly. Bai Chi Feng noticed only then that all his brothers were wearing a bad expression. "What happened?" Chao Guofeng sighed and quickly updated him about the entire matter. "The F***CK. Who dares to do that? F***King Hell. It must be those bastards from the Zhan family. This daddy is going to go find out right now. How dare they? If this daddy doesn't let them know his might, this daddy will not be called Bai Chi Feng." Bai Chi Feng hollered and cursed. Seeing how Bai Chi Feng was about to charge out, Chao Guofeng quickly grabbed him. "You and your temper. This sort of recklessness. Where did all the steadiness of a Saint Emperor go? It's the Zhan family just because you said it is? Do you have evidence? Going to pick a fight without evidence. Even if you have a reason, you'll become the unreasonable one. Besides, with the Zhan family's strength, will it really be to your advantage? You should be worried that they turn it around and drag all of us into the mud. Then that'll really be bad. Then the entire misty illusory manor will be in a mess for a long time." Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 989. Zhan Family's Conclave. Bai Chi Feng glared angrily and yelled, "Then are we supposed to just suck it up like this? I refuse to accept it. If there is no big mess, those bastards will still try to plot against Mo Jun Xie. Aren't you worried? What are you yelling for?" Chao Guofeng also yelled, instantly silencing him. Chao Guofeng panted heavily to catch his breath before continuing. "You said it earlier. Old Miao is in a rage. The reason must also be concerning this matter. It was not only Jun Xie who was attacked. His precious granddaughter Miao Xiao Miao was too. How about you follow me to the Miao family right now for this matter?" From what Jun Xie said, there was one survivor that was brought back by Miao Xiao Miao. Not too sure how the interrogation is so far. If there is evidence and witness, then everything will be different. Right. 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 This makes sense. There must be no delay. We must depart right now. Bai Chi Feng dragged Chao Guofeng and rushed off. In a blink of an eye, both Saint Emperors were gone. The other remaining Saint Emperors told Jun Moxie to go and rest. But none of them left, instantly settling down. However, they didn't really settle down much. And none of them rested. They protected Jun Moxie's room thoroughly. What if there was another assassin? This incident where Mo Jun Xie was almost assassinated completely shook the nerves of these Saint Emperors. They were completely on edge. They did not dare to take any more chances, determined to destroy all threats the moment it began to sprout. Much like the agitation here on Chao Guofeng's side and the rage at the Miao family, the Zhan family was also in a state of flurry. After making arrangements for 6 venerables to assassinate Mo Jun Xie, in order to avoid suspicion, Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu returned back home immediately. after being severely reprimanded by the seniors. They were ordered to reflect on their own acts. Both of them were harboring their own designs, frequently checking the time. That great prodigy MO with the free and natural physique would have already turned into a pile of minced meat by now. Both brothers waited eagerly. But no news came in and it began to turn late. Both of them began to feel worried. Could it be that there were some other accidents? If there were any mishaps, both of them were the first to not believe in it. 6 venerables were deployed for this operation. A force like this was more than enough to deal with a golden Xian. How could there be any accidents? What other accidents could happen? We are literally using a giant rock to smash ants. It is definitely a piece of cake. Maybe those people were loyal to our orders and are torturing Mo Jun Xie, making him find life more miserable than death. That is why they have yet to return until now. That Mo Jun Xie is definitely dead. There are no other possibilities. But even until midnight, no news came in. Both of their hearts began to drum. They were very confident in those guards of theirs. They were extremely experienced and understood that delays might bring more unexpected changes. So even if they were torturing Mo Jun Xie, they would still not delay it for too long. Even if anyone met with an attack, it didn't make sense for all 6 of them to be affected. Could it be? Brother, do you think there was an accident? Zhan Yushu frowned, an extremely troubled look on his face as he walked back and forth. It is indeed odd. Could it be that something really happened? Zhan Qingfeng had already noticed that something was amiss either, but he did not bring it up first. If something happened, then it's a big problem, Zhan Yushu said anxiously. With the high regard the higher-ups of Misty Illusory Manor have towards Mo Jun Xie. If someone knows that both of us arranged this, it'll be bad even if the family supports us. Zhan Qingfeng's eyes suddenly gleamed sinisterly as he paced up and down. Judging from their traveling speed, it will only take an hour at most for them to get to the mountain. Right now, it's been almost 6 hours. If they have yet to return, then something must have happened. Then, Yushu, we must prepare for a rainy day. Plan for a rainy day? Zhan Yushu looked at him in confusion. We go and find father right now and admit to him that we did this. Let him help us find a solution, Zhan Qingfeng said resolutely. If it works out and Mo Jun Xie is dead, the Misty Illusory Manor may pursue the matter of the death of this prodigy, but it will not be of such great importance. I believe that father will be able to help us keep this secret and we will not be in big trouble. But if something really went wrong and we are caught, we can also make arrangements first. At least, we must be prepared for it. So one of us must get ready to step up to carry this responsibility. Zhan Qingfeng looked at Zhan Yushu. Perish that thought. Zhan Yushu's entire body trembled. The moment this matter is blown up, no matter who the one carrying it is, that person is doomed. Brother, don't you dare think of making me carry this alone. We are brothers. We do this together. Or perhaps you are willing to take care of this younger brother and carry this heavy burden? Perish the thought. That remains to be said. When the time comes, it's not up to us. This matter has gone beyond our area of control. Zhan Qingfeng laughed sinisterly. The moment this matter is exposed, the family will definitely not admit that there were 2 people who conspired this. It will only have a worse impact. So I think they'll decide between the 2 of us. The outcome is simple, it's either you or me. And this matter is decided by the seniors of the family. Our fates are no longer ours anymore. I am telling you this merely for you to be prepared for it. Zhan Yushu lowered his head in defeat. He was no fool. so he could understand the truth behind Zhan Qingfeng's words. In the study room of their father, Zhan Changsong was instantly stunned after listening to his two sons. He stumbled and fell into the seat behind him. He had never imagined that his two sons, whom he had such high hopes for, had gotten themselves into such a big mess. Zhan Changsong did not even have time to chide his two sons. He instantly sent experts in the family to check out the place the two brothers mentioned. At the same time, he informed the current head of the Zhan family, Zhan Wuyun, of this matter. Instantly, the low chimes of bells began to slowly ring in the Zhan manor. This was an important call for the gathering of all the higher-ups of the Zhan family for a meeting in the secret chamber. The moment the bells rang, Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu were shocked. They already thought the worst of the situation, but they had never imagined that it would be this bad. This matter required all the higher-ups of the Zhan family to gather and discuss. Later, when we are in the secret chamber, just spill everything. Do not conceal anything and don't exaggerate anything. Zhan Changsong glared at his two sons and let out a long sigh. Father doesn't know how this matter will unfold. As to the fates of the two of you, resign it to the will of heaven. After saying this, Zhan Changsong walked out. His usually upright figure seemed more slumped and he seemed to stagger. Helpless and without any choice, this father couldn't say anything else. Because he knew that whatever he said would be useless. The fates and lives of these two sons of his were no longer something he could determine anymore. From start to end, he did not even reprimand them. But this also allowed Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu to truly understand the severity of this matter. Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu exchanged looks, their faces completely pale. In the secret chamber of the Zhan family, the atmosphere was unusually heavy. Right now, there were almost 60 people present, sitting around a long rectangular table. Opposite it, there was a layer of black curtain that blocked everyone's vision. Was there someone else behind that black curtain? Zhan Wuyun sat at the head of the table. He looked like he was in his 50s, his cheeks red and rosy. But everyone knew that he only looked young. He was actually almost 200 years old. The reason why I've gathered everyone today is because there has been a huge, unexpected incident in the Zhan family. Zhan Wuyun said. Everyone had a calm expression, not showing any signs of anxiousness or curiosity. Everyone present was a great master of different areas of expertise in the misty illusory manner. The great power and influence in the hands of these people made not many matters worthy of being called huge matter in their eyes. Zhan Wuyun did not say anything else. He simply clapped his hands and someone brought in the two brothers, Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu. The two of you, go through everything in detail. Everyone present was an important pillar of the Zhan family's strength. There were no problems about information being leaked. Zhan Qingfeng began to recount the entire situation in detail, how he went along with the instructions of the family to plot against Mo Junyi, but had the tables turned around and got humiliated. Then, because of their anger, they sent 6 venerables to assassinate Mo Junyi, but there has been no response. The entire secret chamber was in a state of silence. After the two of them were done, the entire secret chamber was agitated. That means to say that not only did the Zhan family lose our quota for the spiritual herbal gardens, we also lost a request that we cannot refuse. And there is also a possibility that we've put the evidence in their hands. A young man frowned. The two of you did such a terrible job on this matter. When has the Zhan family ever lost so much face? This is a complete disgrace. Ah. Exactly. What were the two of you doing? Did you not do any basic research? Doing things so recklessly, and so easily defeated by the other party. The entire great situation has been ruined by the two of you. Everyone began to berate. Knock knock. Someone lightly knocked against the table. It was not loud, but it had an air of complete power and might. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 990. Zhan Lun Hui. Everyone looked over in the direction of the noise. A pale-looking young man in green sat slightly below the family head Zhan Wuyun. His long finger was lightly tapping on the table. His droopy eyes occasionally opened, and the dazzling gleam in them made everyone swallow all the scolding they were about to spew. This position was a significant position, and no one had any arguments against this young man, who looked slightly over his 30s, sitting there comfortably. That young man in green said indifferently, "Everyone, please focus. You are not asked to be here to reprimand them. And it is also not a reflection session. We are here to gather your wits and think about how should we resolve this matter. Even if you scold or beat them to death right now, the matter has already happened. There is no point and use in continuing to talk about all these useless matters. The family will have its own punishments for their mistakes. It is not up to you to determine it." This youth held no reservations in the way he spoke, and his tone was exceptionally cold. Anyone who heard it would instantly feel uncomfortable. But no one had any protests. Everyone had shut up the moment this voice began to speak. There was no other reason. Because this person had the most unique position in the Zhan family. If the free and natural physique was where the future hope of misty illusory manner lay, then this person was the Zhan family's trump card and hope. This person was the real number one amongst the younger generation of the Zhan family. He even gave himself his name. Zhan Lun Hui. This Zhan Lun Hui was only slightly over his 30s, but he already has the cultivation level of a 4th-level saint. Just one step away from a saint emperor. A solid prodigy. And the most amazing thing was that although this person had never been taught under any master, all his skills made even the most senior of the Zhan family impressed. Even a few pointers from Zhan Lun Hui were enough to make old seniors in the Zhan family, who were stuck in their advancement, unexpectedly break through. This Zhan Lun Hui's strength and abilities were not ordinary at all. Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu may be the first and second amongst the younger generation of the Zhan family in name and often had competitions between themselves. But they did not have any intentions to vie with this cousin of theirs. Because they knew that they were not on the same level as Zhan Lun Hui, and there was no possibility of comparing them. The disparity was too great. The free and natural physique is the best physique for Xian cultivators since ancient times. Only the founding ancestor of Xian cultivation, the 9-nether first young master, had this sort of mythical physique. And this Mo Junyi is the second one that has appeared in the whole of Xian continent's history. It was still Zhan Lun Hui speaking. His voice was still calm and dull, but everyone was holding their breath, afraid to utter another word. Legend has it that the greatest benefit of this free and natural physique is that there is no bottleneck no matter what sort of art the person is practicing. The greatest trait about it is that there is no hindrance in his meridians. That means it's a free state in the meridians. There is nothing blocking in there. The owner of the legendary free and natural physique can be said to be the darling of the heavens. The moment he gets into momentum, the speed he cultivates at is impossible to be matched, even by those who reincarnated through their spirit seed with thousands of years of experience. And it's even more obvious at higher levels. With enough time, it will become an unimaginable, terrifying existence. If that person is intelligent, then his prowess will be even more shocking. And Mo Junyi is someone like that. With this person's wits, As long as he is given enough time to grow, this person may not be inferior to the 9 nether first young master in the future. If I'm the head of the misty illusory manor, the entire Zhan family will be punished for such an unforgivable mistake by their descendants. Even if blood has to flow like rivers, I'll also use this matter to warn everyone not to set their designs on the free and natural physique. Because this person is the true pillar of the misty illusory manor in the future. As Zhan Lun Hui spoke, Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu were sweating buckets, their faces also completely pale. So the Zhan family absolutely must not be involved in this matter. I believe everyone understands what I mean by this. Zhan Lun Hui scoffed, shooting a cutting gaze at Zhan Yushu and Zhan Qingfeng. The both of you are truly beyond redemption. Everything in the Zhan family was prepared, and we were only waiting for my strength to return so that we could reclaim the entire misty illusory manor. You two just had to make such a ruckus. If Jun Moxie were present, from what Zhan Lun Hui was saying, he would have been able to determine that this Zhan Lun Hui was definitely some reincarnated spirit seed of an expert. Because it was extremely obvious from his words. Then how should we resolve this matter? Zhan Wuyun asked in a respectful tone. The reason why everyone is gathered here today is to make preparations. This responsibility shall all be pushed onto those 6 people. Whether they are dead or alive, they will carry it. First, find the families of these 6 people and make people create false records. Just say that these 6 people were subjected to abuse from the Zhan family because of their mistakes. The Zhan family was strict and harsh in its punishment, and this made them harbor hatred. Keep a tight watch on every single member of their family, and make sure they all say the same thing. Also, promise their descendants benefits. After everything is over, we will return them to a stable life. This matter may sound easy when said, but it is extremely difficult and complicated to operate. Because their families are definitely within the various divisions of the Zhan family. The family members of 6 venerables is no small number. So it's likely that we need everyone here to handle it and make sure everything is perfectly in sync. Create this accusation that it is the servants who are trying to harm their master. Only with this can the Zhan family have all ties cut off from this matter. This is the only solution. With no further risks. One must be ruthless in order to accomplish great things. This may be a little too cruel, but this cruelty can ensure and protect the Zhan family. Zhan Lun Hui stood up easily. His pale face looked exceptionally ghastly under the illumination from the candle. The most important thing that must not be neglected, this must be done before daybreak. If it's not done by then we can all commit suicide together instead. After that, Zhan Lun Hui walked out without turning back. Only when he was at the door, he paused for a while. As to Qingfeng and Yushu, arrange for the both of them to go through the 9 nethers refining soul. If they cannot endure it and die, then it will be their punishment. If they manage to pull through, then the Zhan family will have 2 more top experts with great prospects. That's all. Then, his figure vanished from everyone's vision. Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu instantly turned completely white. Their legs also began to quake. They already knew how their future fate was going to be. To go through the 9 nethers refining soul. The agony and torture couldn't compare to a quick death. But the fates of these 2 brothers was already destined for it. Because that was what Zhan Lun Hui said. The entire Zhan family instantly busied themselves. Everyone was rushing and buzzing about in anxiety. From the outside, the Zhan manor looked just as it did any other day. But who knew that everyone inside was rushing about with all their might? The Zhan family was busy. The Miao family was busy. Chao Guofeng and the rest were also busy. On a sleepless night like this, as the center of the matter, Jun Xie became the most carefree person. But young Master Jun was the same as the rest. He had no sleep for today. If someone had gone into his room to check, they'd instantly realize that it was a pillow that was stuffed under his blanket. And he had already vanished without a trace. If the 5 saint emperors who were guarding him saw this, they'd think they'd met a ghost. Under the full protection of the 5 of them, a person could still go missing again. But it was not as severe as seeing a ghost. Right now, young Master Jun was inside the Hongjun Pagoda. The blood of yellow flame was gleaming and flying around Jun Xie, occasionally releasing a piercing sword cry. What had been completed tonight was the divine sword, the blood of yellow flame. After Jun Xie had silently and secretly summoned it, it quickly got rid of those 6 people. And the killing intent of the blood of yellow flame was even more obvious after drinking the fresh blood of strong experts. Under Jun Xie's constant tempering, its spirituality grew and it practically had a conscience of its own. Before, after drinking the blood of humans, it would just absorb all the contents, unlike today, where it released its evil aura. Right now, the blood of yellow flame had taken form. What it lacked was an endless dousing of fresh blood for it to grow into a true and genuine flying sword. A sword that conquered the world without any inhibitions or control. When that time came, the blood of yellow flame that had fully grown would have a shocking and terrifying might. This story will be continued to chapter 991. For those of you who are not subscribed yet, please subscribe. The interesting and best stories will be updated. See you again in the next episode.